Hour number 2 of Birds 365. We have a substitution. John McMullen had to get over to the media availability at the NovaCare Complex. So we got a former Super Bowl winner, a guy who knows what championship games are all about, Barrett Brooks from the midday show here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel, Sports Take, and also you catch him on NBC Sports Philly as well. And I caught you yesterday. I was watching it this morning. Hold on. Let me look at my TV. Oh, shoot. Barrett Brooks is on NBC Sports Philadelphia right now. But I'm glad to have you here on the stream with me. A lot has been made of this Philadelphia crowd and how big this home field advantage is for the Eagles. And while I certainly agree that it is going to be something that Brock Purdy is going to have to deal with, he did deal with Seattle. And Seattle is arguably the loudest building outdoors in the entire National Football League. He walked out of there with a victory. Now, I think the Eagles are a better team than Seattle, but that, again, taking the crowd out of it, that's the opposition, which is a bigger deterrent to Brock Purdy. The team he's facing or the fans he's facing.
You can't take either one out when you're talking about the Eagles fans, because it's nothing like just to put things in perspective. You look at that Seattle team, their defense sucks. This defense here, they can play. So when you're talking about pass rushers and how the crowd can affect pass rushing, you got to say it's got to be, 10 times worse with the way this crowd is going to be and the way this defense can play. That Brock Purdy, he's up against, a trouble. You know what I'm saying? He's up against it. When you sitting right next to a guy, you're 2 inches from a guy's ear and he still can't hear you. That is decided advantage for the home team. Decided advantage. In fact, it was so loud last week that even the home team, the Eagles, had to use their silent count. That's how rowdy our crowd was, our fans were. So I mean, you can't take either one off the equation when you're dealing with Philly fans and a Philly defense.
And that was just divisional round action. This is championship round action. The volume should be even up a little bit more. Jalen Hurts had the game that he had last week. You go back and check last week's shows here on Birds 365. I had concerns coming into the game. Not fear, but concerns just because I didn't know if Jalen Hurts was going to be Jalen Hurts, the guy who played the first 14 games of the season and was leader for MVP in the National Football League. He looked like the same Jalen Hurts to me. Didn't look like the Jalen Hurts, and the play calling didn't look like the last regular season game against the Giants. He's now a week more healthy, but then yesterday he said, yeah, I'm not feeling great. He's still at least being honest with us that he's not 100%. Do you have any, you pick whatever word you want to use. You know the point I'm trying to make. Concerns, worries, just a slight little feeling in you. Any whatsoever about Jalen Hurts not being 100% going into this game?
Bro, I feel like Apollo Creed when he was talking to Rocky. There is no tomorrow. You got to leave it on the table. There is no tomorrow. So to think that he's not going to give 100% and Shane Steichen's going to give him all the tools in his toolbox is crazy. I mean, it's win or go home, and they understand that. They're not trying to save him for the Super Bowl. He's not trying to save himself for the Super Bowl. So when you're looking at what's up against him, you got to go out there and play and use every intangible, every facet of your game that you can pull. His reads have to be on point. His understanding of what they're trying to do to him is going to be because this is not a team that disguises stuff. It's not a team that tries to trick you into throwing bad balls. They're a team that's going to line up and want to kick your ass. And that goes in favorably with the Eagles because our offensive line is going to kick their ass. So it's the best offensive line against the best front seven in the NFL. That's what we're facing.
Although they'll never be on the field at the same time, one of the intriguing matchup in this game for me is both tight ends.
Yes.
Kittle against Goddard. Doesn't get much better than that. We know Kelsey is kind of a different wide receiver to me because tight end, because he's more like a wide receiver.
Right.
He's not a bad blocker, but he doesn't block like either Goddard or Kittle. Those are the two most complete tight ends in the National Football League.
Absolutely.
Is there a reason to think that Goddard can outdo Kittle?
Of course. I mean, the tight end is always a quarterback's best friend, and the reason why Kittle is really amplified in that offense is because he's got a young quarterback there They got a quick passing game, and they don't necessarily have what the Eagles have out there on the outside. Yes, Brandon Ayuk is good, but is he on the caliber of the two receivers we have? No. Deebo Samuels is good, but they don't use him necessarily like a receiver. We have two bona fide inline receivers on the outside, and we have a quarterback that can get it to the outside. Brock Purdy is not one that his arm is strong enough to get it out there consistently to make plays on the outside. So that's why Kittle is so good and integral in the offense, because he has to roam the middle of that defense. He has to be that safety valve for him a lot of the times. So they'll game plan a lot of pass plays in the middle of the field because of the strength of his arm. He throws a catchable ball, but it floats in the air an awful long time. And the Eagles will have to take advantage of balls in the middle like Dallas didn't do. They dropped 2 picks. You can't do that. You got to take advantage of every opportunity you get. Situational football is key. You got to take care of those type of things, and that's where Brock Purdy he's had Lady Luck in his pocket. Well, Lady Luck is gone now. You know what I mean? They're going to take advantage of those type of situations. They're going to game plan this young quarterback. This is a rookie quarterback. I don't care how good he's played the past 7 games. I'm talking about the here and now. He's only had 2 away games. And yes, last week was kind of fierce. And if you look at, they really had him flustered a little bit last week, the week before last against Seattle. He's not going to be flustered this week. He's not going to be. I mean, he's going to be taken out of his game. They're going to make him move around. They're going to make him see things and go to his second or third read. They got to play press coverage to make him get off that read of going to the tight end, of going to Deebo Samuels, and make him go into his second or third read. And that's where I think our defensive line can then go out there and work at him and beat him up a little bit.
All right, Barrett, whenever you and I do this show together, you come in and sub in for Johnny Mac. I love tapping into your former line of work, a.k.a. offensive line in the National Football League. The 49ers had the best defense in the NFL this year. They were number 1 against the run this year. Their front 7 is very good and tenacious. But the Eagles' offensive line is the best in the National Football League. They'll do their job against the 4 down linemen. Can they get to the second level? The linebackers for the 49ers would make them, for me, the number 1 defense. Yeah, Bosa on the end, but he's going to have to beat one of the Eagles' 2 very good tackles. If he gets 1 sack, I don't think it'll be a game wrecker or a game changer. So be it. Can the Eagles' offensive line get to those linebackers and keep them from making big plays 2 or 3 yards off the line of scrimmage?
That's the matchup where everybody's talking about. And the matchup, everybody's talking about, you got to block Warner. Fred Warner's a great player, but so is Jason Kelce a great player. People forget that Jason Kelce's the best center in the NFL. He is specializing in going up and blocking on the second level. We forget how many times he pulls a game and go out there and crushes people. Just because his last week's attention was beating up on the defensive line. He had Leonard, and he had those guys in there. Everybody, Leonard and Lawrence. That's all they talk about, Leonard and Lawrence, and Kelce against Leonard and Lawrence. Well, this week, it's Kelce against Greenlaw, Kelce against Warner. And I put my money on Jason Kelce all day and twice on Sunday. He will be on him like white on rice. That matchup right there is a decided advantage with the Eagles. Our all-pro center against their all-pro linebacker, 2 first-team all-pros. This is where matchups are born. This is where you get infamous. You know what I'm saying? This is where you become the best that ever play, when you play against the best and you beat up on the best. Jason Kelce will beat up on Fred Warner. Guaranteed. That's
going to be a key, because Warner is damn good. He's arguably the best inside linebacker in the entire National Football League, and Kelsey's the best center. So what is it that we oversay in sports these days now? Iron sharpens iron. Yeah, that's what you're looking at. Kelce versus Fred Warner, the best versus the best. All right. Last week, Kenneth Gainwell had this career game. Some of it was after the game had been decided, so you keep it through that prism. But he did. He was great. Does that change the way the Eagles rotate their backs this week, or is still Miles Sanders the main guy who's going to have more carries than most games this year, more carries than Gainwell and Scott combined? Is that going to be the case this week against San Francisco?
It's going to be status quo. It's going to be saying what it is. Miles Sanders is a dynamic player. Kenneth Gainwell is good. But people, we got to look what happened. Miles Sanders tenderized that defense. He tenderized them. You know what I'm saying? After he tenderized them, then Kenneth Gainwell came in and got the yardage. He had already beat up on him all game. And then Kenneth Gainwell came in and was able to break a couple plays and get some long runs. That's what comes with having a really good back. Everybody's going to eat off your first team back, and that's exactly what happened. I love the game plan that they instituted with Miles Sanders in that last game against the Giants. They handed it all to him. He would set blocks up, and once he got the hole, he would hit it downhill. You're going to get 5-yard runs, 2-yard runs, 3-yard runs, but you can't give up on the run. And Miles Sanders understands this. He's a game changer. He's a game breaker. You might give him an inch, he'll take a yard. And that's why he's becoming one of the better backs in the league. He understands what his role is. You're not going to break away everything. See, as a young player, he wanted to break everything for big yardage. Now he understands a 5-yard run is a great run because now you got your offense in 2nd and 5. You're getting your offense in 2nd and 3. That's when you're winning. That's when, the game is starting to go into your favor because now it's easy. 2nd and 5, 3rd and 2. You know what I'm saying? You can convert those a lot better, and you open up your offensive playbook when you do it that way. Miles Sanders is still the guy. He'll still get the bulk of the reps, and they'll spot in, Kenneth Gainwell a little bit here, and, but I truly believe he'll get right around 18, 19, maybe even 20 carries a game, average just before 100 yards or even 100 yards. And then the other guys will come in, Boston Scott and those guys come in and kind of finish things off.
All right, tricky pick for you here. And then we got to get a break, and we're going to punch up our second guest of the day. Average yards per carry. Not yards, not how many carries. Average yards per carry. Who has more, Miles Sanders or Jalen Hurts? Now, Jalen, you got to factor in maybe you need that 4th and 1, which is all you're going to get is that 1 yard, and that does cut back the average yard per carry a little bit. So all in, Miles carries, Jalen carries. Who has more yards per carry?
Yards per carry, I think that Hurts will have more yards per carry.
Okay.
Because he'll have 3 or 4 runs in which he'll break it for 10, 12 yards because they're playing man and they turn their backs to him. DBs turn their backs to him, and he gets down the field and then slides. So he'll get the bulk of it. So he might have 4 or 5 runs, but they'll be dynamic runs, and they'll probably average like 8 or 9 yards per run. But, bang for the buck, Miles Sanders will have maybe around 5.1, 5.2 yard average, but he'll have 18 carries, which will put him right at around 100-some yards, man. So that's where I see this game going.
All right. If Jalen has as good a day as you'd say he does, the 49ers haven't really faced a great running quarterback this year, so that could be a key element of the game that will bode very well for Philadelphia. All right. He's Barrett Brooks in for Johnny Mac. I'm Jody Mac. You got Birds 365 on the stream. Our guest coming up should be cool. Jason Dumas is a reporter, sports anchor for KRON Channel 4 in San Francisco, but he's Philly born and bred, and he's out there in the enemy's territory this week. But don't kid yourself, he's rooting for the Eagles. He may not say that here on the air with us, but I'm telling you, he's rooting for the Eagles. Jason Dumas from KRON in San Francisco comes in on the stream next here.